Alien girl gets stuck in a tight hole. Luckily a human was passing by. The relentless sun beat down on Travis Stewart's broad shoulders as he trudged through the winding canyons of the uncharted desert world. His heavy combat armor now coated in a thick layer of reddish dust felt like an oven in the scorching heat. The compact survival pack on his back contained enough supplies for another week of exploration, while the military-grade blaster at his hip provided a reassurance. Weight as an experienced tan scout, Travis had seen his fair share of strange sights across the galaxy, but what lay before him now definitely ranked among the more unusual encounters. Right there, protruding from a narrow crevice in the towering rock face, was someone's lower half, long graceful legs wrapped in thin strips of cloth in a style reminiscent of desert nomads, and what appeared to be shimmering blue skin catching the sunlight. The legs were kicking frantically, accompanied by muffled cursing from within the rock. Travis blinked, his weathered face breaking into an amused smirk beneath his thick beard as he watched the spectacle unfold. "Hey, who's there? Help me!" A distinctly feminine voice called out irritably from inside the crevice, clearly aware of his presence. "Did you plan to get stuck like this, or is this some kind of ritual from your people?" he remarked dryly, unable to resist the urge to tease. "Very funny, human, just pull me out," she snapped back, stepping closer. Travis assessed the situation with practiced eyes. From what he could see, the trapped alien was humanoid with strikingly beautiful proportions. Her skin had an exotic blue sheen that seemed to shimmer with each movement. "So you got stuck head first, huh?" He leaned against the rock, thoroughly entertained by the situation. "Thanks, Captain Obvious, just get me out of here before I die of embarrassment," she growled. Travis sighed, moving into position. "All right, hold still." He carefully gripped her hips, noting the firm muscle beneath his hands. "This might be uncomfortable." "Careful," she yelped as he gave the first experimental tug. "I'm trying," he grunted, adjusting his stance for better leverage. After a few more forceful pulls, she suddenly slipped free, only to crash directly into him, sending them both tumbling across the sand. They rolled to a stop with her on top. Her face, mere inches from his, her hair he now saw was in striking silver that seemed to catch and reflect the desert sunlight, while her bright shimmering blue eyes held both annoyance and something else. "Interest, perhaps." "Well, that's certainly an original way to introduce yourself," he noted with a smirk. She blinked, then huffed, her hand still gripping the edges of his armor. "You owe me," she stated matter-of-factly as she stood up, brushing sand from her clothing. "I just saved you," Travis protested, pushing himself up to his feet. "And who asked you to grab me so roughly?" Or she shot back, though there was a hint of playfulness in her tone now that she was fully visible. Travis could better appreciate her exotic beauty. Delicate golden jewelry adorned her arms, emphasizing her predatory grace. Her clothing, while practical for the desert environment, had an elegant quality to it. "I'm Travis Stewart," he offered, extending his hand in the universal gesture of greeting. She looked at his hand for a moment before taking it in her own. "Lorella," she replied simply. "Scout of the Ether, EY. People, interesting place for scouting," he commented, gesturing to the narrow crevice she'd been stuck in. "I was tracking unusual energy readings," she explained, her expression turning serious. "There's something in these canyons that shouldn't be here." Travis's own expression hardened. As a Terran scout, he was well aware of how often unusual energy readings led to trouble. "Care to elaborate?" "I would," Ella said, "but I'd rather not discuss it out in the open." She glanced meaningfully at the sun. "My camp isn't far. You're welcome to join me unless you have somewhere else to be." Travis considered her offer. His own mission was purely exploratory, and something about this situation piqued his professional interest. Plus, he had to admit the company wouldn't be unwelcome. "Lead the way," he agreed with a slight bow. As they began walking, Travis couldn't help but notice how Lorella moved with fluid grace despite the rough terrain. She might have gotten herself stuck in an embarrassing situation, but everything about her screamed capable warrior. This journey, he suspected, was about to get very interesting. Indeed, the sun was setting over the canyon ridges as Travis followed Lorella to her camp, a cleverly concealed alcove nestled against the weathered rock face. The entrance was barely visible, masked by natural formations and what appeared to be some kind of advanced camouflage technology. "Impressive setup," Travis commented as they ducked inside. The temperature dropped noticeably in the shade, and he found himself appreciating the wrist bite from the relentless heat. The camp itself was a testament to efficient Design. A small but sophisticated shelter dominated one side while various pieces of scanning equipment lined the opposite wall. In the center a compact cooking unit hummed quietly. Make yourself comfortable. Laurel gestured to a collection of cushions near the cooking unit. I imagine you have questions. Travis removed his heavy armor, setting it carefully aside before settling onto one of the cushions. His black undersuit, while still protective, allowed him to move more freely. He couldn't help but notice Laurel's appreciative glance at his muscular frame. The energy readings you mentioned. He began accepting a container of cool water she offered. What exactly caught your attention? Lorella sat across from him, her movements fluid and graceful. My people have been monitoring this sector for centuries. We're particularly sensitive to certain types of energy signatures. It's part of our biology. She paused, studying him with those striking blue eyes. But recently, we've detected something different, something that shouldn't exist in this part of space. Different how? Travis asked, taking a long drink. He watched as Lorella began preparing some kind of meal, her movements precise and measured. It's complex, she replied, her fingers dancing over the cooking unit's controls. The EY theory, or empaths of sorts. We can sense energy patterns, emotions, life forces. But this signature, it's like nothing we've encountered before. It feels almost human. Travis raised an eyebrow. Human out here? Precisely why it's concerning, Lorella said, turning to face him fully. Your species is fascinating, you know, so young compared to many races, yet you've achieved so much. Your adaptability, your determination, it's remarkable. There was something in her tone that made Travis's pulse quick and slightly. You seem to know quite a bit about humans. I've made it my business to study your kind, she admitted, a slight smile playing at her lips. Though I must say, hands-on research is proving far more interesting than theoretical knowledge. The air between them seemed to charge with unspoken tension. Travis found himself increasingly aware of her presence, the way she moved, the subtle shifts in her expression, the exotic beauty of her features. And what have you learned so far? He asked, his voice dropping slightly lower. Laurel's smile widened as she served what appeared to be some kind of local fruit and protein combination. That humans are full of surprises. Your emotional capacity, for instance, it's extraordinary. You feel things so intensely, yet you manage to channel those feelings into remarkable achievements. We're a passionate species, Travis agreed, accepting the offered food. Their fingers brushed briefly during the exchange, and he felt a slight electric tingle where their skin met. Yes, Lorella murmured, her eyes meeting his. I'm beginning to understand that firsthand. As they shared the meal, their conversation flowed naturally between professional matters and more personal topics. The setting sun cast long shadows through the camp's entrance, painting everything in warm, intimate hues. Earlier, when you found me, Lorella said, a hint of embarrassment coloring her voice, I was tracking one of those energy signatures. It led me right to that crevice, and you thought the best approach was to dive in head first. Travis teased, earning himself a playful glare. I'll have you know that among my people such dedication to investigation is highly respected, she retorted, though her eyes sparkled with amusement. Though I must admit, being rescued by a human wasn't part of my plan. Life rarely goes according to plan, Travis observed, shifting slightly closer. Sometimes that's not such a bad thing. The air between them grew heavier with unspoken possibilities. Laurel's skin seemed to shimmer more intensely in the fading light, and Travis found himself fascinated by the way it caught and reflected the evening. GL among the other, Laurel said softly, we believe that chance encounters are rarely truly random. The universe has its own way of bringing together those who are meant to meet. And what does the universe have in mind for us? Travis asked, his voice low and intimate. Laurel moved closer, her movements deliberate and graceful. I sense no deception in you, Travis Stewart. Your energy signature is compelling, strong yet controlled. Passionate yet disciplined. Her hand reached out, fingers hovering just above his chest. May I? Travis nodded, and her touch sent a wave of warmth through his body. He could feel something, a gentle probing, like soft tendrils of energy exploring his essence. Fascinating, she breathed. Your life force, it's unlike anything I've encountered before. Their eyes met, and in that moment the professional pretense between them began to dissolve. Travis reached up, gently catching her hand against his chest. The contact sent another wave of that peculiar energy coursing through them both. Your people, he said quietly, they communicate through energy as well as words, don't they? Lorella nodded, her Silver hair catching the last rays of sunlight. We share emotions. Sensations. It's a deeper form of connection than mere physical touch. Her free hand traced patterns on arm though. I must say physical sensations with humans are intriguingly intense. Is that your scientific observation? Travis asked, his thumb drawing circles on her palm. She laughed softly, the sound like wind chimes in a desert breeze. Perhaps I need to conduct more thorough research. The tension between them built naturally, neither rushing nor forcing the moment. Travis could feel her energy signature pulsing gently against his consciousness, curious and inviting. Among my people, Lorella explained, her voice taking on a husky quality. Physical intimacy is seen as a natural progression of energy alignment when two beings resonate strongly. She let the implication hang in the air. Travis smiled, reaching up to brush a strand of silver hair from her face. And how's our residence? Instead of answering with words, Lorella leaned forward, pressing her forehead to his. Suddenly Travis felt a rush of Stenstein's warmth, attraction, curiosity, desire, all flowing between them like a cosmic dance. That's incredible, he breathed, overwhelmed by the intensity of their connection. This is just the beginning, Laurel whispered, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. Humans have such powerful life forces, such raw energy. The combination of physical and energetic connection. Their first kiss was like a supernova, an explosion of sensation and emotion that transcended mere physical contact. Lel's natural ability to share energy transformed every touch into an experience that went beyond normal human perception. As night fell over the desert world, they explore this new territory together, discovering the unique harmony between human passion and ethereal energy manipulation. Their connection grew deeper, more profound, as physical and spiritual intimacy merged into something entirely new. Later, as they lay entwined on the cushions, Laurel traced patterns on Travis's chest while their energies continued to intermingle in gentle waves. The desert night had brought a pleasant coolness to the air, and the stars peeked through the entrance of their shelter. I never expected, she began, then chuckled softly. Well, I never expected any of this when I got stuck in that crevice today. Travis smiled, running his fingers through her silver hair. Is that why you were really there, hoping some passing human would find you? She playfully swatted his chest. Don't get cocky, Stuart, though I must admit human confidence is oddly appealing. Just one of our many charm, he replied, pulling her closer. Along with our powerful life forces and raw energy. Apparently. Lorella propped herself up on an elbow, her blue skin glowing softly in the darkness. You laugh, but you don't understand how unique humans are. Most species we encounter are either purely physical or purely energy-based, but humans, you exist in both realms simultaneously, even if you don't realize it. Is that what you were studying before? Human energy patterns. She nodded, her expression growing more serious. That's what makes the energy signature I detected so concerning. It's like someone or something is trying to replicate human energy patterns artificially. But why and how? Travis considered this his tactical mind engaging despite their intimate situation. Could it be dangerous? Potentially, which is why she hesitated, then continued, which is why I should probably feel guilty about getting so distracted from my mission. Do you feel guilty? Laurel's smile returned, bright and mischievous. Not in the slightest. In fact, I think this connection might prove invaluable to my investigation. Is that what we're calling it, an investigation? She laughed again, the sound mixing with the gentle whisper of the desert wind. Among other things, the desert dawn brought with it both new possibilities and unexpected complications. Travis woke to find Laurel already at her scanning equipment, her blue skin catching the early morning light. Their shared night had left in lingering energy signature between them that he could now somehow sense, a gentle hum of connection that felt both foreign and inexplicably right. The signal's stronger, she announced without turning around. Your presence seems to be amplifying my ability to track it. Travis stretched and moved to join her, placing a hand on her shoulder. The contact sent a pleasant ripple of energy through them both. That's convenient considering how we met. Indeed, she smiled, leaning back against him, though I should warn you. A soft chime from her equipment interrupted her words. Her expression shifted to one of concern. We have company, other Ether scouts approaching. Before Travis could respond, 3 figures materialized at the entrance of their shelter, their blue skin several shades darker than Laurel's. The leader, a tall male with elaborate golden markings, fixed them with a penetrating stare. Scout Lorella, he said, his tone carefully neutral. Your energy signature has changed significantly since your last report, Commander Thyrax. Lorella acknowledged, straightening but not moving away from Travis. I was about to send an update. I've made several significant discoveries. The commander's eyes flickered between them, taking in their proximity and the lingering traces of their shared energy. So I see in this human is one of them. This is Travis Stewart, a Turun scout, Lorella introduced. Formally, his presence has proven invaluable to my investigation. The two other Ether scouts exchanged meaningful looks, one of them a female with intricate silver markings stepped forward. Lorella, you know the protocols about intimate contact with other species during missions. Travis felt Lella's energy spike with irritation. With respect to Leah, those protocols were established before we fully understood human capabilities. Their energy signatures are unique. Yes, we're aware of your fascination with humans, Thrax interrupted. However, this level of energy bonding is unprecedented and potentially dangerous. The third scout added, his expression stern. Travis cleared his throat. I'm standing right here, you know. If there's a concern about my presence, I'd appreciate being included in the discussion. The three newcomers seemed startled by his directness. Thrax's eyes narrowed slightly. You can sense our energy signatures thanks to Lorella. Yes, and I can tell you're more worried than angry right now. A moment of tense silence followed before Thyx unexpectedly laughed. Remarkable, truly remarkable. Perhaps your theories about humans weren't so far-fetched after all. Lorella, I've been trying to tell you this for years. Lorella said, her hand finding Travis's. Humans don't just generate energy signatures, they can learn to interact with them. Their adaptability is extraordinary. Aaliyah moved closer, her scientific curiosity clearly overriding her initial disapproval, and this connection happened naturally, without technological assistance, more naturally than you might imagine. Travis replied with a slight smirk, earning him an elbow in the ribs from Laurel. The artificial signal I've been tracking, Lorella redirected. It's attempting to replicate this kind of connection, but now with Travis's help I can trace it more accurately. Thyra's expression grew serious. Show me. Laurel LED them into her equipment, displaying a complex pattern of energy waves. See these resonance patterns? They're almost identical to human signatures, but there's something artificial about them with Travis here. The differences are more obvious because you can compare them directly. Aaliyah amused, studying the readings. Fascinating. The third scout, who had remained quiet, suddenly spoke up. Commander, if someone is attempting to artificially replicate human energy patterns. Yes, Kane. Thyrax nodded grimly. The implications are concerning. He turned to Travis. It seems we owe you an apology. Human, your involvement with Lorella may have given us crucial insight into a potentially serious threat. Does this mean you're not going to order me to cease contact? Lorella asked, a challenge in her voice. Tyra's lips twitched. Would you comply if I did not? A chance, she replied firmly, her energy signature pulsing with determination. Then we'll have to adapt our protocols. Thyx conceded, but first we need to track down the source of these artificial signatures. Laurel, you and your partner will take point on this investigation. And Kalen will provide backup. Travis felt Lel's energy signature brighten with satisfaction. And you, Commander, I'll return to headquarters. Update our superiors about these developments, including the unexpected benefits of human-Ethera cooperation. His tone carried a hint of amusement, though perhaps we'll omit some of the more intimate details. After the commander departed, Aaliyah approached them with undisguised curiosity. I've studied human physiology, but I've never observed such strong energy compatibility. Would you be willing to participate in some basic readings? Aaliyah Laurel warned, this isn't one of your laboratory experiments. Actually, Travis interjected, I'm curious too. Might help us understand why someone's trying to replicate human energy patterns. The next hour was spent with Aaliyah taking various measurements while Kin kept watch outside. The proximity of the tests kept rekindling Travis and Lel's connection, making it difficult to maintain professional detachment. Extraordinary, Aaliyah muttered, reviewing the data. The resonance patterns are perfectly harmonized. It's as if your energy signatures have adapted to complement each other. Like I said. Laurel smiled, her fingers intertwined with Travis's. Humans are remarkable. Speaking of remarkable, Travis said, shouldn't we be tracking that signal? Lorella nodded, turning to her equipment. It's stronger today. Leading deeper into the canyon, she paused, glancing at him. Sure you're ready for more Adventure after everything else, he grinned. This should be easy. As they prepared for their expedition, Aya and Kalen gathered their own equipment. The morning sun had risen, fully promising another scorching day ahead. One more thing, Aya said, approaching Travis with a small device. This will help you focus your energy signature. Since you and Lorella are connected, it should enhance your ability to detect the artificial signals. Travis allowed her to attach the device to his temple. Immediately his awareness of the energy patterns around him intensified. Lel's signature blazed like a beautiful aurora in his perception, while Aaliyah and Kalen appeared as distinct, cooler patterns. That's intense, he breathed, adjusting to the enhanced sensitivity. Just wait until we're tracking together, Lorella murmured close to his ear, sending a shiver of energy through him. Our combined signatures will be much more effective than working separately. Kin cleared his throat. If you two are quite finished, we should move out before the day gets too hot. As they left the sheller, Travis noticed how naturally they fell into formation. He and Laurel in front, Aaliyah and Kale and flanking them. Their energy signatures created a harmonious network, allowing them to communicate without words. You know, Lorella said as they navigated the canyon paths, when I got stuck in that crevice yesterday, I never imagined it would lead to all this. Travis smiled, remembering their first encounter. Sometimes getting stuck is the best way to move forward. That's very profound for someone who spent yesterday making jokes about my predicament. What can I say? You bring out my philosophical side. Their playful banter was interrupted by a sudden spike in the energy readings ahead. The canyon narrowed into a shadowy passage, and something about the energy patterns felt wrong. The narrow passage ahead pulsed with artificial energy signatures that made Travis's newly enhanced senses tingle uncomfortably. Through their connection he could feel Lel's growing unease as well. Something's not right, she murmured, her hand tightening on his arm. These patterns, they're too perfect, too structured. Aaliyah's voice came from behind them, tense with concern, like they're being generated by a computer rather than occurring naturally. Allure, Kin concluded grimly. We're being drawn in. Travis's tactical training kicked in. Then we should probably expect company. Before he could finish, the canyon wall suddenly hummed with energy. Dark figures emerged from hidden alcoves, tall insectoid beings with chitis armor and multifaceted eyes that gleamed with malevolent intelligence. NEX Aryans, Lela hissed, her energy signature flaring defensively. I should have known. The parasitic race, Travis asked, remembering briefings about the energy-consuming species. His hand moved to his blaster while maintaining physical contact with Laurel, their combined energy signatures creating a protective field around them. How observant human, one of the NEX Aryans clicked, its mandibles moving in what might have been amusement. And how fortunate for us that you've brought exactly what we need. The insectoid aliens moved with unsettling grace, forming a circle around the group. Their own energy signatures were dark and hungry, creating an oppressive atmosphere in the narrow canyon. You've been trying to replicate human energy patterns, Lorella accused, her blue skin brightening with anger. That's what the artificial signatures were about, merely the first step. Another Nexian rasped, but why settle for imitation when we can harvest the real thing, especially when it's been so conveniently enhanced by Etheria connection. Travis felt Lel's energy surge protectively around him. You're not touching him. Your species' fascination with humans is well documented. Little Scout, the first Narian, chittered, such passionate defenders of a primitive race. But their energy is anything but primitive. If you know so much about humans, Travis said, his voice steady, then you know we don't go down easily. The Nerian collective energy signature pulsed with dark amusement. No you don't. That's what makes this so delicious. The stronger you fight, the more potent your energy becomes. Aaliyah and Kalen moved closer, their energy signatures merging with Travis and Laurel to form a stronger defensive barrier. The Nexian compound eyes reflected the desert sun, their chitis bodies casting strange shadows across the canyon walls. You underestimate the strength of our bond, Lorella declared, her fingers intertwining with Travis's. Their combined energy flared brilliantly, causing several Narian to step back. Fascinating, the lead Zarian observed. The human's energy signature has already adapted to match ethery patterns. Such potential, such power. Once we harvest it, you won't. Travis interrupted, his voice carrying an authority that made even the insectoids pause. You want to know why humans are so special? We don't just adapt, we evolve. We don't just survive, we thrive, and we protect what's ours. The surge of energy that accompanied his words was unexpected and powerful through their connection Lorella felt. The raw strength of human determination, the unyielding will that had carried their species across the stars. It was intoxicating, empowering, and it made their shared energy signature pulse with unprecedented intensity. Now Aleia shouted, activating some kind of device that amplified their combined energy field. The Narian recoiled as the wave of pure energy washed over them, their own dark signatures flickering like flames in a wind, but they quickly regrouped, their hunger seemingly intensified by the display. Yes, yes, their leader chittered excitedly, this is exactly what we need. Take them. The battle erupted in a chaos of energy pulses in physical combat. Travis's military training merged seamlessly with Laurel's ether abilities. Their movements perfectly synchronized, each touch between them amplified their power, turning their intimate connection into a weapon. The Narian hadn't anticipated their weakness is in their joint segments, Lorella communicated. Through their bond, her energy guiding his aim. Travis's blaster shots found their marks with devastating accuracy, while Laurel energy pulses disrupted the Narian attempts to drain their power. Aleia and Kaelin fought with practiced efficiency, but it was the unprecedented synergy between human and ether that truly kept the insectoids at bay every time the Narian tried to separate them. Travis and Lel's bond grew stronger, their shared energy creating barriers that the parasitic beings couldn't penetrate. Impossible, the Narian leader screeched, mandibles clicking in frustration. No species should be able to resist our drainage. You don't understand humans at all, do you? Travis grinned, pulling Lorella close as they deflected another attack. We don't just resist, we adapt, we learn, we grow stronger. Their proximity sent waves of energy cascading through the canyon, the intimate nature of their bond transforming into raw power of the Narian attempts to replicate human energy signatures had failed to account for one crucial factor, the emotional depth that powered human resilience. And we're not alone, Laurel added, her body pressed against Travis as they channeled their combined strength. Humans don't just adapt themselves, they help others evolve too. Your artificial signatures could never replicate this. The tide of battle shifted as Travis and Lel's connection deepened further, their shared energy creating patterns the Narian couldn't predict or counter. Each touch, each synchronized movement, each moment of intimate contact generated waves of power that seemed to strengthen not just them but Aleia and Kaelin as well. Their bond is actually growing stronger. Under pressure, Aleia observed with scientific amazement even as she fought. The humans' adaptive capabilities are exponentially enhancing AEI energy manipulation, the Nexian leader chittered in frustrated rage. This isn't possible, human energy signatures should be simple, primitive. That's your first mistake, AK. Travis called out, his hand firmly clasped with Laurel as they launched another combined attack. Assuming anything about humans is simple through their connection, Lorella could feel the pure exhilaration coursing through Travis, the uniquely human joy of defying expectations, of overcoming impossible odds. It was intoxicating, addictive, and it made their shared energy pulse with even greater intensity. Your second mistake, Laurel added, her blue skin practically glowing with their combined power, was thinking you could control something this pure, this natural. What exists between us isn't just energy, is it something you could never replicate or understand? The Nexian dark energy signatures began to falter as their carefully laid trap backfired. Instead of harvesting human energy, they found themselves overwhelmed by the unprecedented power of human ethereal unity. Fall back, the next Aryan leader finally screeched, its compound eyes reflecting fear. For the first time, this specimen is too volatile, too unpredictable. Yeah, as the insectoids retreated, their dark energy signatures fading into the canyon shadows, Travis and Lorella remained connected, their combined power still humming between them. The intimate nature of their bond had transformed into something even the Indoor I hadn't thought possible. That Aleia breathed, studying her readings with wide eyes. Was extraordinary the way your energies merged under pressure. It's completely unprecedented. Kain nodded in agreement. The Nexian won't give up easily, though this demonstration will only make them more determined to understand and harness human energy patterns. Let them try, Laurel said firmly, her hands still intertwined with Travis's. They'll never replicate what we have. Travis pulled her closer, their energy signature dancing together in the aftermath of battle. Because they don't understand that human strength isn't Just about power, it's about connection, adaptation, evolution, and love, Lorella added softly. Touching his face, they could never replicate that. The desert twilight painted the canyon walls in deep purples and reds as Travis and Lorella prepared to track the retreating Nexans. Their recent battle had left both their energy signatures heightened and intertwined, creating an intimacy that made even simple preparations feel charged with meaning. The residual energy trail is still fresh, Lorella observed, her scanning equipment detecting the dark signature of their enemies. We can follow them to their base while they're weakened. Aaliyah and Kaylin had returned to report to command, leaving Travis and Lorella to pursue the NEX Aryans alone. The privacy allowed their energy bond to flow more freely, each touch and glance between them carrying unspoken promises. You're sure about this? Travis asked, adjusting his armor while watching Lorella move with her natural grace, going after them instead of waiting for reinforcements. Laurel paused in her preparations to step close to him, her blue skin glowing softly in the fading light. After what we just discovered about our combined abilities, we might be the only ones who can stop them. Besides, she added, trailing her fingers along his arms, sending ripples of energy between them. I rather enjoy having you all to myself. Travis caught her hand, pulling her closer. Even when we're hunting dangerous parasitic aliens especially then. She smiled, her silver hair catching the last rays of sunlight. The way you channel your energy during combat, it's intoxicating. No wonder the NEX Aryans are so desperate to understand human capabilities. Their proximity sent waves of shared energy coursing through them both. Since their battle, their connection had grown even stronger, more intuitive. Every touch felt like a conversation, every shared glance an intimate secret. We should move out, Travis said reluctantly, though he didn't release her. The trail's getting colder. Then we'd better stay close, Lorella murmured, her energy signature pulsing playfully. To maintain our tactical advantage, of course. They began their pursuit through the deepening shadows of the canyon, following the dark energy signature of the NEX Aryans. Their own combined energy provided a subtle glow, illuminating their path while masking their presence from potential observers. The hunt took them through increasingly narrow passages, forcing them to move in close proximity. Neither complained about the necessity of constant contact, their shared energy making each touch both tactical advantage and intimate pleasure. The trail leads into that cavern system. Laurel indicated, her scanning equipment detecting multiple energy signatures ahead. The NEX Aryans are gathering their forces. Travis studied the cave entrance, his tactical mind working. They'll be expecting us, or probably have traps set. Good thing we have something they don't understand, Lela replied, pressing against his side. Their combined energy signatures created patterns that seemed to confuse and disrupt Narian detection systems. As they moved deeper into the cavern, the air grew cooler, a welcome change from the desert heat. Their footsteps echoed softly off the stone walls, accompanied by the gentle hum of their shared energy field. You know, Travis whispered as they paused behind a rock formation, when I found you stuck in that crevice yesterday, I never imagined we'd end up hunting alien energy parasites together. Lel's laugh was soft and melodious. Are you complaining? Not at all, he smiled, pulling her closer under the pretense of checking around a corner, though I do wonder what other surprises you have in store for me. Their bodies pressed together in the narrow space, energy signatures dancing between them. The intimate contact enhanced their awareness of the surrounding area, allowing them to detect approaching threats while remaining hidden. The NEX Aryans are just ahead, Lorella breathed against his ear, sending shivers of energy through them both. But there's something else, something they're protecting. They crept forward, moving as one through the dimly lit passages. The cave walls were lined with strange pulsing technology that seemed to be attempting to replicate their energy patterns but failing miserably. Look at this, Travis gestured to one of the devices. They've been studying human energy signatures for a while, but they're missing the crucial element. Lorella observed, her hand finding his in the darkness, the emotional component, the connection that makes human energy so unique. Their shared energy illuminated more of the Nexian research failed attempts to synthesize human adaptive capabilities, broken devices that had tried to replicate human ethery bonds. Each discovery made their own connection feel more precious, more powerful. They're trying to manufacture what comes naturally to us, Travis mused, pulling Lorella behind a column as a patrol. The human was paid to please without asking questions until he discovered she was in the glittering heart of new Andromeda's alien district, where neon signs cast their multicolored glow across rain slick streets, stood the most exclusive establishment in known space, the Velvet Nebula, not just any pleasure house but a sanctuary where the galaxy's most powerful alien women came to indulge their desires in absolute privacy. Theo Reed adjusted his tailored black suit, a smirk playing across his rugged features as he watched the evening's first clients arrive through him with the force of a supernova. For now he simply watched the artificial sunrise, unaware that somewhere in the sprawling city a princess was returning to her hidden chambers, her hand resting thoughtfully on her abdomen as her patterns continued to glow with the after effects of human passion. The following weeks blurred together in a parade of familiar faces and masks, but none carried that particular scent of exotic flowers. None bore those hypnotic golden patterns. Theo maintained his professional standards, his reputation for discretion and satisfaction only growing. Yet something had shifted inside him. That night he found himself studying his alien clients more carefully, noting the subtle differences in their physiologies, their mannerisms, the way Andoran's skin flickered with bioluminescence under certain touches, how Neelan clients purred when pleased, but none matched the ethereal grace of his mysterious green-skinned visitor. You seem distracted lately, Madame Nixa observed one evening as Theo prepared for his next client. Not like you at all, just expanding my knowledge base, he deflected smoothly. The more we understand our clients, the better we can serve them. The Madame's silver scales rippled with amusement. Knowledge is power, certainly, but remember, some mysteries are better left unexplored. If only he'd heed that warning. The weeks turned to months, the memory of golden patterns and piercing eyes began to fade like a pleasant dream. Theo threw himself into his work with renewed vigor, earning commendations from Madame Nixa and an even more exclusive client list. Then came the morning that changed everything. Theo was enjoying his rare day off, sipping genuine earth coffee on his private balcony overlooking New Andromeda's alien quarter. The morning mist wrapped around the towering spires like ethereal silk reminiscent of a certain client's robes. The thought was interrupted by the distinctive whine of military-grade hover vehicles. 6 Royal Guard cruisers materialized through the mist, their pristine white hulls bearing the emblem of the Emerald Dynasty. They surrounded his building with practiced precision. Yeah, well, this is new. Theo muted, taking another sip of coffee. In his line of work, discretion often attracted attention from various authorities. Usually a quick call to Madame Nixa's extensive network of connections resolved any issues. But when the royal commander stepped onto his balcony, resplendent in ceremonial armor that rippled with living metal, Theo knew this was far beyond Madame Nixa's influence. Theo Reed, the commander's voice carried the weight of imperial authority. You will come with us. Theo set down his coffee cup with deliberate calm. I'm afraid I'm not taking new clients at the moment. All bookings must go through the Velvet Nebula's proper channels. The commander's face remained impassive, but his armor darkened ominously. This is not a request you dare to touch, one above your station. His voice dropped to a glacial whisper. The princess carries your child. The words hit Theo like a physical blow. His customary smirk faltered for just a moment before muscle memory took over. You must be mistaken. Princesses don't have affairs like that. The royal house of the Emerald Dynasty does not make mistakes. The commander's armor now pulsed with barely contained energy. You will face the consequences of your actions. As the guards moved to flank him, Theo's mind raced through that night months ago, the golden patterns, the hesitation in her voice, the studying of human physiology. It all clicked into place. With devastating clarity he muttered, then straightened his spine. If he was going to face royal judgment, he'd do it with the same confidence that had served him so well at the Velvet Nebula. Lead the way, Commander, though I do hope you'll allow me to change into something more appropriate for a royal audience. The royal palace of the Emerald Dynasty stretched toward the emerald-tinted sky, its living crystal architecture pulsing with bioorganic energy. Theo stood in the grand reception chamber surrounded by guards whose armor rippled with barely contained power. Despite his predicament, he couldn't help but admire the artistry of his surroundings. The walls seemed to breathe patterns of light dancing across their surface in a way that reminded him of certain golden markings on green skin. The High Council awaits, announced the commander, his tone suggesting he'd rather throw Theo out the nearest airlock. Remember, human, one wrong word and diplomatic immunity won't save you. Diplomatic immunity. Theo raised an eyebrow. I wasn't aware I had any. You don't yet. The commander's armor darkened. But after today you'll either be elevated beyond your station or eliminated beneath it. The choice lies with Her Royal Highness the Massive. Doors parted like living petals, revealing a circular chamber where 12 ancient advisors sat on crystalline thrones. Their skin bore elaborate patterns that made his mystery client's marking seem simple by comparison. At the center, on a throne that seemed to grow from the very floor, sat the unmasked princess. Theo's breath caught. The golden mask had hidden true beauty. Platinum hair cascaded down her back in intricate braids interwoven with living crystal. Her green skin bore patterns that now pulsed with an inner light, particularly around her midsection. But it was her eyes that held him, those same piercing golden eyes that had haunted his dreams. Theo read her voice carried both authority and a hint of their shared secret. You stand before the royal house of the Emerald Dynasty, accused of violating our most sacred laws. He bowed with perfect grace. Years of dealing with alien nobility serving him well. Your Highness, I wasn't aware I had violated any laws. The Velvet Nebula operates under full diplomatic sanction. The law in question, interrupted an ancient advisor whose patterns swirled with agitation, predates your species' discovery of fire. No royal blood may mix with lesser species, yet mix it, has another advisor noted, gesturing to the princess's glowing patterns. The human's genetic contribution has created something unprecedented. The child's energy signature is unlike anything in our records. The princess, he still didn't know her name, rose from her throne. The law also states that any being capable of affecting royal patterns at the cellular level must possess compatibility with the divine bloodline. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Theo noticed how the advisor pattern shifted in response to her words, creating complex conversations beyond his understanding. Impossible, the first advisor declared. Humans are barely more than clever animals. Theo couldn't resist. This clever animal managed to impress your princess enough to create a diplomatic crisis. Imagine what else we might be capable of. The chamber fell silent. The commander's armor turned pitch black, but then surprisingly the princess laughed. This is precisely why I chose him, she declared. Humans possess a fire our people have lost. They dare to challenge, to question, to burn bright against the darkness of space itself. She descended from her throne, her patterns blazing. I am Princess Alindra, heir to the Emerald Dynasty, and I declare this man my chosen consort. The chamber erupted in chaos. Patterns flashed in angry pulses. Advisors shouted in multiple harmonic tones. Hing in. The commander looked ready to vaporize Theo on the spot. The genetic scans are conclusive. A younger advisor cut through the noise. The human's DNA has not only merged with royal blood but enhanced it. The child's energy readings exceed all recorded levels. Princess Alindra reached Theo, taking his hand where their skin touched. Her patterns brightened dramatically. Our species has grown stagnant, bound by traditions that no longer serve us. Humans represent change, adaptation, passion, everything we need to survive the coming darkness. Coming darkness? Theo asked, momentarily forgetting his no questions policy. A threat gathers beyond our borders, she explained, her hand tightening on his one, that requires the strength of both our peoples to face this child. She placed their joined hands over her abdomen where the pattern swirled with incredible intensity. Represents hope, a bridge between stars. The ancient advisor rose, his patterns darkening ominously. You speak of threats and changes, yet the greatest threat may be this very contamination of our bloodline. The human must be eliminated. The child, choose your next words carefully. Elder, the Renel Linder's voice carried deadly authority. That contamination you speak of has created something extraordinary. Show them. She guided Theo's hand to a specific pattern above her heart. The moment his fingers made contact, the entire chamber transformed. Bioorganic crystals erupted with light, creating a holographic display of what appeared to be cellular structures. These are standard royal gene eye patterns, a medical advisor explained, his own markings pulsing with scientific curiosity. And these new images appeared, showing radically different structures. These are from the princess's current state, and the human genetic material hasn't merely combined with royal DNA, it's enhanced it, strengthened it. The child's potential energy readings are beyond our measuring capabilities. Theo watched fascinated as microscopic golden pattern PNs dawn with what he assumed were his own DNA strands. So our night Together didn't just create a baby, it created an evolutionary leap. Precisely, Alindra smiled, her patterns reflecting her pleasure at his quick understanding. Humans possess genetic adaptability. Our species lost millennia ago in pursuit of genetic purity. Your DNA awakened dormant abilities in our royal bloodline. The commander, who had remained silent throughout the exchange, stepped forward. Your Highness, while the genetic implications are intriguing, there remains the question of protocol. A human consort to the future Empress is unprecedented. Everything about this situation is unprecedented, Commander. Angel replied, including the timing. Tell them what your long-range scouts discovered. The commander's armor shifted from black to a troubled gray. 3 days ago our deep space arrays detected something approaching from intergalactic space, something vast, something that devours light itself. A new hologram appeared showing what looked like a moving void in space, consuming stars. As it advanced, the council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. The ancient texts speak of such an entity. Elder Thurin admitted reluctantly, the void hunger our ancestors faced, at once driving it back at terrible cost, but our powers have knees since then while humanities have grown. Elinder declared, their adaptability, their resourcefulness, their sheer audacity in the face of impossible odds, these are the qualities our empire needs. And this child, she placed a hand on her abdomen where the patterns now pulse like a miniature sun, represents the perfect fusion of both our strengths. Theo absorbed this information, his mind racing. In the span of a morning, he'd gone from high-end companion to potential royal consort and father to a genetically enhanced child who might be crucial to fighting an ancient space horror. Just another day in the galaxy's most interesting profession. Well, he said, finally drawing every eye in the chamber, I suppose this explains why you studied human physiology so thoroughly before our encounter. Your Highness. Alin's patterns flickered with what he now recognized as amusement. Actually, I studied it after I wanted to understand exactly what made that night so revolutionary. The chamber filled with scandalized gasps, but Theo couldn't help grinning. In your conclusions that humans are even more remarkable than legend suggests, and she replied, her golden eyes holding his. The question now is, will you stay, help me prepare our peoples for what's coming, be a father to our child? Her patterns dim slightly. I won't force you despite what some might think. I respect human autonomy. Theo looked around the chamber at the suspicious advisors, the intrigued scientists, the stoic commander, then back to Alindra. The princess, who'd hidden behind a golden mask, now stood revealed, offering him a chance to be part of something greater than himself. He thought of his life at the Velvet Nebula, of the endless parade of mass and secrets. Then he thought of the void approaching through space, of the child growing within Alindra, of the way their touch created literal fireworks in her patterns. You know, Theo said, his trademark smirk playing across his lips, when I took this job, Madame Nixa warned me it might lead to interesting places, though I doubt even she imagined anything quite like this. Is that a yes? Indra's patterns brightened hopefully. It's a I've never backed down from a challenge, especially one that involves saving the galaxy while annoying stuffy politicians. He squeezed her hand, watching with satisfaction as her patterns responded to his touch. Besides, I'm curious to see what other evolutionary leaps we might inspire together. Elder Thurin patterns flashed with outrage. This is not some common pleasure. House Liaison, the future of our dynasty will be stronger for this union. Alindra cut him off. The old ways brought us to stagnation. It's time for change. She turned to the commander. Prepare the royal announcement chambers by sunset. The Empire will know of both the threat we face and the hope we've discovered. The commander's armor shifted through several colors before on a reluctant blue. As you command, Your Highness, though perhaps we should arrange some cultural training for your chosen consort first. Oh, I don't know, Theo grinned. I think my particular cultural expertise might be exactly what this empire needs, a little human passion to wake things up. The gods help us all, the commander muttered, but there was a hint of amusement in his tone as the council chamber emptied. Elendra led Theo through a hidden passage, their path lit by the glow of her patterns and the living crystal walls. They emerged in a private garden where actual earth flowers grew alongside alien blooms, explaining the familiar scent he'd noticed during their first encounter. I had these imported, she admitted, touching a rose petal, part of my research into humanity. Your species Creates beauty even in your simplest form. Speaking of research, Theo raised an eyebrow. Exactly how long had you planned this genetic revolution? I hadn't. Her pattern swirled with honesty. I simply wanted to experience human passion firsthand. The genetic enhancement was a wonderful surprise. She stepped closer, her patterns brightening at his proximity. Though I must admit I'm looking forward to conducting more thorough research for scientific purposes. Of course, he murmured, drawing her into his arms. Of course, she agreed, her golden eyes sparkling. The fate of the galaxy might depend on our compatibility. As their lips met, the garden's crystals erupted with light, reflecting the intensity of Alindra patterns somewhere in the palace. Advisors were undoubtedly having fits about protocol and propriety, but Theo couldn't bring himself to care. He had a galaxy to help save, an empire to modernize, and a princess whose touch literally made stars dance. Not bad for someone who used to just please without asking questions. The assassination attempt came during the third course of the formal announcement dinner. Theo noticed the server's patterns flickering oddly, a detail he might have missed a week ago before Alindra began teaching him to read their species' bioluminescent language. Duck, he said casually, pulling Alindra down just as a crystalline dart whistled through the space where her head had been. The dart shattered against the far wall, releasing a cloud of dark spores that immediately withered the living crystal decorations. The commander's armor shifted to combat mode as he tackled the would-be assassin. Protect the royal couple. Theo couldn't help grinning at that royal couple. A week ago he'd been entertaining mass clients at the Velvet Nebula. Now he was dodging poison darts at EST State dinner. Life had certainly become more interesting. You're enjoying this far too much. Alindra observed, her patterns flickering with a mixture of amusement and concern. Just appreciating how you've spiced up my life, Your Highness. He helped her to her feet, noting how her pregnancy made her patterns pulse with unprecedented brilliance. Though I do miss some of our more private entertainments. Her patterns rippled with desire, drawing scandalized looks from nearby nobles. Later, she promised in a whisper that sent shivers down his spine. After we deal with these tedious assassination attempts, the commander approached, dragging the struggling assassin. Fourth attempt this week. The old guard is getting desperate. They fear change. Indra said, her voice carrying across the now silent dining hall. They fear the strength that comes from embracing new possibilities. She placed a hand on her abdomen where their child's unique genetic signature made her patterns swirl like a galaxy in motion. But they cannot stop what has already begun. Theo studied the assassin, noting the elaborate patterns that marked him as a member of one of the ancient noble houses. You know where I come from. We have a saying, if people are trying to kill you, you must be doing something right. Your human wisdom continues to surprise, consort. Read, the commander said dryly, though perhaps we should focus on keeping you both alive to implement these changes. Actually, Theo smiled in a way that made several nobles shift uncomfortably. I have an idea about that. Something that combines human ingenuity with your traditions. Later that night in their private chambers, Elra traced the new patterns recently added into Theo's skin. Unlike the natural bioluminescence of her people, his were created with a hybrid technology that responded to both his thoughts and her touch. The court is still buzzing about your challenge, she murmured, watching his patterns glow as her fingers danced across them. No human has ever participated in the ritual of luminescent combat. First time for everything we might, he replied, enjoying how the patterns enhanced every sensation. Besides, if I'm going to be your consort, I should prove myself in their traditional way with a few human modifications. Of course, is that what you call installing neural reactive biop patterns and challenging 6 noble houses to simultaneous combat? Her golden eyes sparkled with mischief. The old guard is beside themselves. Good. He pulled her closer, their patterns creating fascinating interference patterns where their skin met. Let them see what happens when human adaptability meets alien tradition. Tomorrow's demolition should be enlightening. You're playing a dangerous game, Alindra said, though her patterns betrayed her excitement. The ritual of luminescent combat isn't just about physical prowess, it's a display of pattern mastery, of genetic purity. Then it's time to show them that purity is in everything. Theo concentrated, making his artificial pattern shift in a way that mimicked royal communication. The technology wasn't perfect, but it allowed him to participate in the subtle pattern language that governed court politics. Besides, I learned a few things about pattern manipulation at the Velvet Nebula, her patterns flashed with possessive heat. Should I be jealous of your former clients? None of them ever inspired me to challenge the foundations of an empire. He traced the increasingly complex patterns around her growing abdomen, or gave me a reason to revolutionize an ancient combat ritual. The living crystal walls pulse softly, responding to their combined pattern resonance. Since his installation of the artificial patterns, Theo had discovered that their unique genetic compatibility created unexpected harmonics in the palace's bioorganic architecture. It was as if the very building recognized them as something new, something evolutionary. The medical advisors are fascinated by how your artificial patterns interact with mine. Alendra mentioned her scientific curiosity showing through. They say it